Hello World Wide Web, I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. And now that we've finally been freed from the clutches of that plastic psychopath, let's take a look at a classic horror movie from 1990, Graveyard Shift. Based on a Stephen King short story of the same name, very loosely I should add, Graveyard Shift follows the story of a textile factory and its workers in Maine, where the temperature rises into the triple digits. But that's not the supernatural horror, no. It's the rats. Funny thing, Stephen King actually publicly said that he didn't like Graveyard Shift, the movie. He said it didn't really represent the story that he wrote, and it was just some kind of cheap horror schlock fest just going for cheap thrills. And he's not wrong, but that doesn't mean that the story he wrote was any better. The movie follows the work schedule of one John Hall, played by David Andrews. He gets a job in Maine, but this job is the worst job imaginable due to Maine's sweltering heat, and the only hours that people can stand are in the dead of night. The Graveyard Shift. Also, something killer rats, lots of people die in increasingly gruesome ways. And if you are one of the few people out there who is familiar with the original short story, you might be wondering, what's the difference? Well, let's take a look at Graveyard Shift and find out. We open up at work, the greatest horror for any red-blooded YouTuber. The work up top is rough, but nothing compared to the poor bastard feeding the picker machine down below. Jason Reed, played by Jonathan Emerson. Well, that'll be some shit if the first kill in the movie is by tetanus. Fortunately, there's plenty of cotton to go around. A little peroxide probably isn't enough to make this place any more sanitary.
You're no lady, Doris.
As the rat has pissed all over the chair. About 50% of its body weight by the looks of it. So he cleans it up with the very same hand. So death by infection. Now, no matter how he dies, the rats are all here waiting with bated breath. So he decides to teach them a lesson, as well as the audience. Why shouldn't you jump into the picker machine? Because it will fucking kill you! Also, no animals were harmed in the making of this movie. There's actually a pretty extensive bit of trivia exactly how they went about showing so many rats in so many horrifying situations with so much death and actually didn't hurt any of them. It's pretty impressive, actually.
Okay, class is over. Did you hear me? Class is over!
Is this going to be on the test? Because I wasn't paying attention. Seeing as the rats, surprise, surprise, don't seem to understand English, he prepares another example, but sees the shadow of someone approaching. So figures, it's probably his asshole of a boss, Warwick.
So I may be desperate for work, but I'm not desperate enough to...
Man, talk about putting your sweat and blood into your work. And the rats eat the blood-soaked cotton. In case you were under the mistaken impression that this is one of those positive infestations of disease-ridden vermin. As it is not, it should surprise no one that there is a professional exterminator hard at work, killing and clearing out as many as he can.
Ah! Down! Whoa! Adios, motherfuckers!
Played by Brad Dourif. Interestingly enough, the exterminator is also not one of the characters from the original story. So we can already tell the movie is at least 10 times better based on that alone. But sadly, he is not the protagonist, no. That would be John Hall here, played by David Andrews, who has just arrived in Maine from the mystical no man's land of out of state. The locals seem to smell the unmainliness a mile away, though, and don't take kindly to his kind round here.
Looks like a Boy Scout. Maybe a Girl Scout.
You wrong, Girl Scout.
Oh shit, a Girl Scout shows up, I'm whipping out my wallet and asking for cookies, just saying. Seems they just recently had an opening. The place is run by Mr. Warwick, played by Stephen Macht, and he's going to interview John. Later, first gotta deal with the inspector, played by Joe Perham, who's got some bad news. Seems the condition of the mill is abso-fucking-lutely awful. It needs some serious cleaning from top to bottom. It's infested with rats and there's so much leftover clutter. There's a fire hazard and he thinks they should shut down right away. Right before the 4th of July, which is effectively Black Friday for this place. I have no idea how the hell there is such a demand for textiles on the 4th of July in Maine, but that's the plot. So Warwick bribes him to hold off on that shutting the mill down until at least after they rake in buttloads of money working in objectively dangerous conditions. Thus, everyone gets on a hard day's work at the mill, while John continues to wait. Hey, it takes a while for everyone to clock in, especially with Warwick's special attention to his employees.
This'll work out just fine. See you later.
Nordello, played by Ilona Megordes. She's important later. Ish. But what's important right this red-hot minute is John over here. Seems for being a bit of a drifter and a vagrant, he's done quite well keeping his work history in a handy-dandy file.
Lots of movement over the past 5 years. Starts down in Florida.
For you see, John Hall is in fact Florida Man. Maine has no idea what it's just got himself into. But even if he's a loner, a risk, and a freaking college boy, Warwick needs someone to run the picker.
This mill depends on that machine. And what's left of Gates Falls depends on this mill.
What the hell kind of economic future does this town have then? I'm just saying, this mill is the shining jewel of prosperity. A run-down, rat-infested hellhole. And with this highly dangerous, uncomfortable, and deathly important job, Warwick offers the man minimum wage, a smooth $3.35 an hour. Seeing as we won't have a movie otherwise, John agrees. Then he hears what the hours are.
The graveyard shift.
Okay, that just reminds me of Ghost Story's Bloodstained Lake.
Bloodstained lake. Ah!
Bloodstained lake?
Despite it being blue?
But what is she running from? From Brad Dourif. Makes sense, but he is chasing down a rat whom he sprays poison upon.
Spread the word, fucker.
Mice?
I don't think he was talking to you, Warwick. But that night, as John works, rats surround him. No bother, he has the power of Diet Pepsi. Which he apparently hammers down like Sam Porter Bridges with Monster Energy. But what's this? The exterminator saw this little carnival game of John's and was quite impressed with his work. Introducing himself as Tucker Cleveland, the exterminator decides to confide in John some information he's been keeping very close.
This place is infested.
That might be the understatement of the year.
Well, this year it's gotta be you can have my anime titty games when you pry them from my cold dead fingers. The exterminator points out that Warwick evidently doesn't think that rats are as big of a problem as he does. But when things get this bad, you need to think of the big picture.
There's only one way to deal with their kind.
We're still talking about the rats, right? Yes and no. This is the perfect opportunity for the exterminator to talk about his old gig working as an exterminator in Vietnam. A soldier sent to spread freedom in 5.56 and 800 rounds per minute. But it wasn't all gunfire and games, no. They were American, so they did as America does, and also tried to support the locals. However, the Vietnamese jumped at the chance to help the Viet Cong instead.
Because the VC would reward them with a hot meal. Now, do you have any idea what a VC rat eats?
Mostly rice, but some do dine on sugarcane. Those tend to be the ones that end up becoming the meals themselves, though. Much like the American soldiers the metaphorical rats betrayed. That's right. The Viet Cong would capture the soldiers and cook them to be the hot meals of the ones who betrayed them. Not only that, they just so happen to use rats, literal ones this time, as a means to torture and execute captured soldiers. Stuffed into their cut-open chests, the rats would burrow inside to eat their still-beating hearts.
Human artichoke. So warm, so juicy.
A tale so wild, I figured it had to have been made up for the movie. Upon further research, pretty much, though rat torture is a historical type of torture in Europe and South America. For us, however, the torture is that we're going to have a few more scenes without Brad Dourif for a while. Up top, Ibsen is doing his best impression of Warwick, which is impressive, but doesn't come close to the performance of the man himself. That keeps him in line and focused on the job, but it's no big deal. Jane, played by Kelly Wolfe, points out that if anything, they're slightly ahead of schedule. But the production is one thing, the cleanup is another thing entirely, and Warwick is looking for a few good men to assist with the cleanup crew in a few days. But she's just too cute and female for such a dirty job. He's got a dirtier job for her.
It's double pay. So back off, man.
Why don't you wisen up, for Christ's sake?
Like Nardello?
But she knows he is merely after the booty. As this man is trying to bone every woman in the film. Except his secretary, weirdly enough. But it's been a few minutes since the body count rose, so hey, you in the basement working on something. Yeah, how about you get attacked by the freakishly gigantic bat rat thing that kills the fuck out of you? Yeah, that is one of the big differences between this and the Stephen King original story. In this, we get little hints about the giant monster in the basement throughout the movie. In the original, that really didn't even get hinted at all until the cocaine started kicking in. So now they're down a man, again, but don't worry, there's still plenty of employees left. Brogan, played by Vic Polizos, and we can't forget Danson, played by the Djinn himself, Andrew Devoff. This scene establishes they are still treating John like shit. Great. But wait, one of his co-workers does treat him kindly, Jane. This rubs Warwick the wrong way. But never mind that. Look, new employee, Charlie Carmichael, played by Jimmy Woodard. Warwick brings him to the basement and gives him the basics. Set with lights, don't ask questions, I'll pay you next to nothing, and try not to get eaten by the monster. Welcome to Bachman Mills.
Mr. Warwick?
Yeah.
What did happen to the fellow that started this job?
What happened? He didn't work out.
I understand the guy that fell into the picker machine might have just looked like an industrial accident, but what did happen to the light guy? Did the monster just gobble up every last bit of him? Did they find bloody shoes and just not give a fuck? However, when Nardello finds out that she has been drafted for the cleanup crew, she goes absolutely apeshit, smashing the fuck out of Warwick's car like this is the Street Fighter II special stage. Everyone gathers around and just kind of watches, but Warwick, surprise, surprise, isn't too happy about this. Okay, John, I get it. Don't hit women. Good idea, nice rule to have. But, may I ask why you were just standing there watching while she was beating the shit out of his car and didn't try to stop that at all? Warwick appreciates John's willingness to step in and stop him from doing something he'd regret. Really? Matter of fact, he offers him an illustrious position in the cleanup crew. Sure, you gotta work on the 4th, but you get double pay! Oh boy! $6.70 an hour!
Thank you, Mr. Warwick.
You're so welcome, Mr. Hall.
Jesus Christ, man, bit of that apple like the chairman of Iron Chef. But that night, Nardello sneaks into Warwick's office because she intends to get back at him. Finding the inspection report showing the mill is unsafe and unsanitary, she has what she needs. Wait a minute. We still got 40 minutes of movie left. Therefore, she trips on the stairs of the place she's worked in for God knows how long, breaks both her legs, and is summarily eaten alive by a giant rat monster. So that went nowhere. Cool. So there's nothing to stop the cleanup crew from getting ready to clean up. Except, of course, the whole surfing rats thing. Honestly, I'd watch 90 minutes of surfing rats. I'm already way more invested into this hypothetical plot. This hypothetical plot, though, is that they are using the fire hose to blast the rats as they blast the debris around the basement. However, this horseplay of hoseplay must come to an end if Warwick has anything to say about it.
End up spraying one of your buddies back onto a slab.
Yeah, he might be cutting corners left and right, but when it comes to his water pressure out of his hose, he won't settle for a drop less than lethal. Turns out to be a handy feature considering that along with clearing out the debris, they're using the hose to blast the rats to death along the way. But what's this? Brogan nearly killed Carmichael. So they have an argument, and Brogan attacks him anyway. But John is like, no murdering co-workers.
Look, guys, this is crazy. We were hired as a cleanup crew, not as exterminators.
Actually, we were hired to run a textile mill, so none of this shit is in your application. However, Warwick does not take kindly to Ippiston's complaints about character consistency, so double pay ain't enough for him to just shut up and take whatever Warwick dishes out. Fine.
You best be punching out your time card permanently. Is that clear, boy?
Could be worse. Could be treating you like the foreman in the Child's Play remake. Fire you, and then tell you, by the way, you still gotta finish your shift. Then you're fired. But it's not like Warwick isn't especially evil. Look, he kicks a dog. Turns out he's gonna get in a lot of trouble for dumping all the rats out into the river. When the exterminator points out that it was Warwick's intention to do just that, the man changes the subject like, hey, wouldn't it be great if you could take out their nest at its source? Well, it just so happens that I found its source. The cemetery. So, heading out, the little doggy runs inside, but yips, and falls silent. Therefore, when the exterminator heads in to find the dog, we quickly scratch that character off the board. He wasn't in the original story. It was starting to get confusing. And I suppose this implies that Warwick knew this would kill him? Yeah, it wouldn't be the worst job he'd give to someone. That'd still be the cleanup crew down below. Break time's over, and it's back to work. But what's this? John has discovered a peculiar trapdoor that leads even deeper. It looks scary. So Warwick is like, okay, John can go. And John agrees, but on one condition. He can bring someone with him, just to be safe.
You, Mr. Foreman. Well, management should be represented in this little venture, don't you think?
And despite how much this movie has deviated from the original story, this line of reasoning is something John did employ in the Stephen King short story of this. Which is surprising considering it doesn't go at all like it did in that. Effectively, there is no away team. Every last one of them comes down in the basement. But what's this? Jane has hurt her ankle. What's with this movie's women and stairs? It's just a minor temporary inconvenience. Brogan has it much worse, for you see, he winds up walking into a spider web, terrifying and disgusting, but not quite as much as discovering the leftover hand of the half-eaten employee. So he must run, which shatters the stairs and busts the hose, causing Brogan to fall into the waters even further below the sub-basement, where creatures await.
Come on.
Which I assume killed him? Or he fell into the set of an Evil Dead movie. Either way, we never see Brogan again for the rest of the running time. So everyone flees in terror. Warwick, Carmichael, and Danson running one way while John and Jane stick together and head another. You'd think the one guy with an injured woman would be in more danger, but as it turns out, Warwick is batshit insane, having war flashbacks now that they find themselves underground and in the jaws of death itself.
You're going out of your mind, Warwick.
Yeah, Warwick, you can be a shitty boss, get your employees killed, and start losing your mind in this hypothetical war scenario you're just cooking up in your head, but you can't do that to your face! It's 2025! But what about John and Jane? They're busy trying to find their way out. Jane hears running water, and runs right into the underground river of blood. I don't know where it's all coming from, but it's red sometimes, and I'd rather not default to rusty water. But what's this? Coffins? That's right, the mill was built over a cemetery. Well, not really over. It's more to the side. It's adjacent. It's over parts of the cemetery in Maine, a not particularly ancient burial ground. Warwick and friends are having a little more difficulty finding a way out. They do find a little hole, but what could it be? Hey, Carmichael, stick your hand in it and find out. But what's this? His arm is being bitten. And his hand is ripped right off. And everyone else just decides to say, fuck it and leave. If anything, Warwick probably just can't afford the workman's comp. Danson, however, is just good old-fashioned freaked out by the whole ordeal, shrinking into a wall and refusing to move another inch in any direction. Therefore, Warwick just leaves his ass behind too. But don't worry about him. He's not going to be alone for that much longer. Somehow I feel like even if they did have that hose, it probably wouldn't help all that much. So Warwick throws a Molotov, or a bottle anyway, and runs like hell. But oh no, the floor gives out, and he crashes down below, which means the only two left standing, or hobbling in any case, would be John and Jane who are here.
We're gonna make it.
I know.
Wait, no, you don't kiss until after you've gotten out of the... She's about to die, isn't she? But looky here, they did find a way out, along with a massive pile of skeletons that looked like way more people that existed in the graveyard or mill employees combined. But wait, Warwick is in the pile! Even more surprising, he is just barely still alive. So despite their better judgment, the two of them decide to dig him out and administer aid.
Really bad.
You should let the bastard bleed. Here, hold on there a second.
Funny thing, this isn't the first time I've seen young and stupid characters being viciously attacked by Warwick. What's his motivation? Why, evil, of course! So they fight! 2 against 1 is quite the advantage. So, of course, Warwick stabs Jane before running away. And yeah, she's very, very fucking dead. Not to say Warwick's plan of running madly into the mill mine graveyard cave is even dumber than advertised, considering the giant damn winged monster rat monster. So when John chases Warwick down for some reason, he's like, ooh, already half eaten. Well, time to get out of here, and wouldn't you know it, it just so happens that the skeleton room just so happens to have a handy-dandy rope that leads all the way up, spilling John out into the very same room he was working in the night prior. How convenient! But you can't have a giant damn monster in your monster movie and not have an epic final showdown between the monster and John. Understandably, the giant-ass bat-rat mother-mater monster motherfucker is a bit beefier than John can reasonably handle. But wait! He can defeat it just as well as he did with the rats earlier in the movie, with the power of Diet Pepsi. And the big-ass picker machine, that helps. Well, of course you missed, Johnny boy. You know the final shot doesn't hit unless you say the epic one-liner.
Way to deal with these fuckers.
By quoting Brad Dourif, by the power of Chucky. Therefore, his aim is true, whacking the button to turn on the picker machine, which shreds the giant rat into little tiny bits. The end. And yeah, Stephen was right. That didn't go like the original story at all. The way he wrote it, everyone was just incredibly stupid and insanely suicidal for no apparent reason. Like, even more than this. But anyway, that was Graveyard Shift. And it's not amazing, but I liked it. Adapting a 12-page horror short into a feature-length movie is obviously going to come with some changes, and Graveyard Shift mostly goes about this in the service of making an entertaining horror flick, in my opinion. A lot of the aspects of the story I can question, like how weirdly dependent on this mill this particular town in Maine is to an unhealthy degree, are actually holdovers from the Stephen King story. And a lot of the new things, like the character of the exterminator, or the way the old mill being an old mill actually still kind of matters in Act 3, are only positives. Of course, then there's the things you just kind of expect that are there for seemingly no reason, like the love interest out of nowhere, how the subplot with the failed inspection is swept under the rug in possibly the most contrived way possible, and while the Stephen King original did give us some attempts at an explanation for the rat mutations, this time around it just happens to be one big damn mutant rat, and that's it. At the end of the day, Graveyard Shift is an enjoyable romp through schlocky horror that doesn't try to go above and beyond in any particular way, but doesn't phone it in either. It's great for fans of horror, would make a fine entry for a horror marathon, and at the very least, it didn't piss me off. Coming in at 3 basset-ass rat bastards with their basset-ass rat asses. Out of 5. Could it have been better? Easily. But I'm not about to throw away a medium steak just because it's not medium rare. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, don't kiss until after the final battle.
Juicy.
The graveyard shift.
Maybe. I'm a little prejudiced.